Very much for coming. This is representative of our legal team. We're representing President Trump, and we're representing the Trump campaign.
Hey, you can say what you want about Giuliani, but he is a fucking real friend of Trump's. He's standing by Trump's side. And I got my issues with Giuliani myself, honestly, I do. But at the end of the day, he is, I mean, this is the type of friend you want in your corner. I mean, like dudes that will ride for you regardless. And everybody, I'm not going to say everybody's against Trump, but like, this goes to show you, man, because Giuliani was mayor during the time, and, you know, him and Trump, I'm pretty sure Trump passed off a lot of deals to him and all that shit. But you need friends like this who will ride for you. Check it out.
When I finish, Sidney Powell and then Jenna Ellis will follow me, and we will present in brief the evidence that we've collected over the last, I guess it is 2 weeks. Also, Joseph Genever, Victoria Tenzing are here with me. There are a lot more lawyers working on this, but we're the senior lawyers, and Boris Epstein. So, I guess the best way to describe this is when we began our representation of the president, we certainly were confronted with a very anomalous set of results. The president way ahead on election night, 700,000 or 800,000 in Pennsylvania. Somehow he lost Pennsylvania. We have statisticians willing to testify that that's almost statistically impossible to have happened in the period of time that it happened. But of course, that's just speculation. As we started investigating, both our investigations and the very patriotic and brave American citizens that have come forward are extraordinary. Extraordinary number of people, extraordinary number of witnesses. And what emerged very quickly is, because there's not a singular voter fraud in one state. This pattern repeats itself in a number of states. Almost exactly the same pattern, which to any experienced investigator, prosecutor, would suggest that there was a plan from a centralized place to execute these various acts of voter fraud, specifically focused on big cities.
Hey, man, if the Democrats were strategic enough to pull this off, I mean, these fuckers are capable of anything. I'm not telling you Republicans are the answer neither, because most of them are jealous of decent, productive black guys that are, you know, non-criminals, have careers, and that don't fit any of their negative stereotypes. So it's like, as black dudes, you can't look at neither political party as a way to fucking fix any problems. You just gotta look at which way you can, you know, balance your leverage. You know what I mean? So just listen to both sides and come to your own conclusion. Ultimately, what I believe is that the Democrats kill babies. So I mean, and also they believe in this victim narrative that, like, as black men or black people, we can't do for ourselves or organize ourselves and take care of ourselves without having them in our ears telling us what to do. And also they've weaponized black women politically against the family and against black male leadership with this gender politics, intersectionality, social justice bullshit. So overall, man, the Democrats and the Republicans, they're not for straight black men. So don't get the vibe that I'm telling you Giuliani and Trump is for. No, I'm not on no shit like that, man. I'm just basically giving you an update as a young black dude. Look, these videos that I'm making, this is not for the old heads and shit. Now I'm preparing I'm trying to put down shit for the younger generation, younger black dudes coming up under me that may not have, you know, positive guidance or have answers to certain questions. And I don't got all the answers because I don't know everything. But I'm just giving you my viewpoint on shit that I've seen. You know what I mean? That's the best that I can do.
And specifically focused on, as you would imagine, big cities controlled by Democrats, and particularly focused on big cities that have a long history of corruption. The number of voter fraud cases in Philadelphia could fill a library. Just a few weeks ago, there was a conviction for voter fraud, and one 2 weeks before that. And I've often said, I guess sarcastically, but it's true, the only surprise I would have found in this is if Philadelphia hadn't cheated in this election. Because for the last 60 years, they've cheated in just about every single election. You could say the same thing about Detroit. Each one of these cities are cities that are controlled by Democrats, which means they can get away with anything they want to do.
See, now it's like they're putting a black face on this election being stolen. And the Democrats are strategic, man. This is how the Democrats are going to basically, and they always use black folks, man. They used us at the beginning of the Civil War, the fucking Revolutionary War. They used us. They all black. Look, man, black men. We're the fucking political football between the Democrats and the Republicans. We're the political football between the whites and the Jews. They use us to push each other's agenda. You know what I mean? That's what they've been doing. And it's up to us as black men to be smart and say, nah, man, that's no more of that. We are our own men. We think first individually for ourselves and our family. And then after that, we look for like-minded, productive black dudes that we could possibly network with. But as far as being under other people and being subjugated just to get by, nah, it's not going to work.
It means they have a certain degree of control certainly control the election board completely, and they control law enforcement, and unfortunately, they have some friendly judges that will issue ridiculously irrational opinions just to come out in their favor. So let's start with the specifics. Pennsylvania. In Pennsylvania, the margin of victory now for Biden, which is not a victory, it's a fraud, is 69,140 votes. The reality is that we are now at a count of 682,770 ballots, for which we have affidavits that there was no inspection of that ballot at the time that it was entered in the vote. It was a mail ballot. Mail ballots are particularly prone to fraud. We were warned about that by Jimmy Carter, President Jimmy Carter, and Secretary Baker in a report about a dozen years ago, in which they said that mail balloting is particularly susceptible of fraud, that we should very carefully consider ever doing it, and that it can be taken advantage of. Justice Souter warned us of the same thing in a comment in an election law case. And even the New York Times wrote articles about how dangerous mail-in voting was. And this is the first time we ever did it en masse, and I think we proved that all three are prophets. It's not only susceptible to fraud, it is easily susceptible to fraud, particularly if you have a plan or scheme which sounds eerily similar to what Joe Biden told us a few days before the election, that he had the best voter fraud team in the world. Well, they were good. I don't know that they were that good because they made significant mistakes, like all crooks do, and we caught them. One of them was pushing out Republican inspectors. Every state, almost every civilized country, even Tanzania and places you wouldn't think of, have rules about inspectors, particularly for mail-in ballots. And why particularly for mail-in ballots? Because they can more easily be defrauded, and you can't check on it. People who have never done a mail-in ballot, I'm going to show you why it's so easy. Well, you fill out an envelope like this. You put usually in New York it would be your assembly district and the precinct in which you're voting. You fill out your name and your address, and you sign it. You then use an inner envelope and you put the ballot inside the inner envelope. You seal it all and you send it in. When it's being counted, almost invariably in the United States, up until the mass cheating that went on in this election, a Republican and a Democrat inspector, as well as others, if there are other parties, is allowed to watch the unsealing of this ballot. Used to go on all over America when we conducted honest elections. Because the only time you can ever find out if it's a fraudulent ballot is when it is looked at. The minute you approve this, it's thrown away, gone for eternity. The only thing left is the vote. That could have been Mickey Mouse. That could have been a dead person. That could have been not filled out properly. That could have been the same person 30 times. That could have been, and all these things have happened, by the way. That could have been...
I told you there were going to be situations with the voting and that Trump was not going to take or go for these mail-in ballot voting. I told you, man. And I told this 3 months ago. Go back to my videos, man. I already called it. I said Trump may not even leave the White House if he loses. And this is not even a loss. This was a hijack, but I already called it, man. I called this shit.
Nothing filled out. We never know. So, for example, the recount being done in Georgia will tell us nothing, because these fraudulent ballots will just be counted again because they wouldn't supply the signatures to match the ballots. So it means nothing to have counted these ballots because, for example, in Pennsylvania, where we have probably our most precise evidence, 682,770 of these ballots were cast, put in, and they weren't inspected, which renders them ballots that are null and void, cannot be counted, have to be removed from the vote. Why? For several reasons, not the least of which is that was basically only one of 2 places in the state where it was done. So in the other parts of the state, there was a legitimate inspection of the ballots. So if you have 2 different standards in different parts of the state, one favoring one part of the state, the other disfavoring the other part of the state, that's a classic violation of the Equal Protection Clause of the United States Constitution. Bush v. Gore being the most recent case that teaches that. That's not the only fraud that went on in Pennsylvania. All of the other frauds carried out in the other states by the Democrat bosses happened there as well. For example, if you made a mistake in that ballot and you lived in Philadelphia or in Pittsburgh, you were allowed to fix the mistake. But if you lived in what would be considered more Republican or Trump parts of the state, you were given no such right. One of our plaintiffs, Mr. Henry, cast an absentee ballot, and he failed to put it in the secure envelope inside. He just put it in open, naked. That ballot was cast aside because it was invalid, because that breaks the privacy of the vote. In Pittsburgh and in Philadelphia, if they noticed that there wasn't an inner envelope, they'd contact the voter and allow him to vote again. Or if he didn't fill it out completely, or if he made a mistake and didn't sign his full name, he was allowed to cure it. There is no such provision under the law of Pennsylvania. The Democrat Secretary of State made that up in order to maximize the votes in Philadelphia and Pittsburgh and to minimize the votes in the other parts of the state. Clearly illegal, clearly voter fraud, easily provable, hundreds of witnesses, maybe thousands. We have...
Hey, I told you they're putting a spin on this to say that this election was stolen behind black people. This is the spin they want to put on it. And this is why most of the voting polls in those areas have all black poll attendants. The Democrats are clever, man, in how they hijacked this election. I didn't think they had the organization and everything in place, like all the people in place to do it. But when you think about it, all these states that they control, um, cities like Philly, all these battleground cities, man, it's just suspicious. It really is how like they all came out in support of Joe Biden at the last minute.
To give you another example, we have 17,000 provisional ballots cast in Pittsburgh. Do you know what a provisional ballot is? Provisional ballot usually happens this way, and about 15 of the 17,000 happen this way. You walk in and you say, "I'm here to vote today." "Oh, Mr. Juliana, you already voted." "I did? I don't remember voting." "Oh, yes, you cast an absentee ballot." "No, I didn't." "Yes, you did." "No, I didn't." "Yes, you did." So why does that happen 17,000 times in Pittsburgh? People walked in thinking actually 15,000 to be precise. Why did it happen 15,000 times that people in Pittsburgh walked in to vote and they had already voted according to the Democrat election machine? Did they forget?
Hey, that's suspicious, man. They already voted through like absentee ballot, right? They mailed it in like 2 weeks ago, two weeks before the election. And then on election day, they went down to the poll, walked in there and said, "Hey, I'm here to vote." And the voting attendees say, "Hey, you did a absentee." And then you slap your head and say, "No, I didn't." "No, I didn't. I didn't vote." "Yeah, I didn't vote. I don't remember voting." Some funny shit. And he said, "I don't remember. Are you denying me my right to vote? No, I'm not denying. No." They get all nervous and shit. No, I'm not denying. You can vote a third time. Go ahead.
That many people with bad memories in Pittsburgh? Or is the following correct? That as witnesses will testify, they were instructed by the Democrat bosses when they had a ballot in which there was no one registered, just assign it to somebody. Just assign it to Rudy Giuliani. So when Rudy Giuliani,